Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Film Room Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 17. I'm your host, Joe Baress, joined by my co-host, Joby Fawcett. We're recording this on a Monday afternoon, close to the evening. Joby, how we doing?
Well, Joe, we're doing okay. It was a very exciting weekend for a lot of reasons. I'm sure that you've been dialed into the college football playoff buzz that is going around social media and alike. And I'm sure that you and I will touch on it later on this hour, but we have a lot to get to on the local scene first and foremost. So I look forward to speaking with our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely gonna talk some college football. We're gonna talk some local, but as we always do, first and foremost, we are joined by our Times-Tribune Athlete of the Week, Emma Coleman of Abington Heights basketball. Emma, how we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Just for people to know what Emma did last week, as Abington Heights went 2-1, she totaled 60 points in 3 games. She had 20 points and 4 steals in a 46-34 win over Holy Redeemer. Then at the state college tip-off tournament, she scored 25 points in a 51-46 loss to Norwin in the semifinals, and then had 15 points and 5 steals in a 39-23 victory over Reading in the consolation game, and was named to the all-tournament team. Emma, what did you think, after a long off season, I'm sure, what did you think of your performance to open up the season?
Well, I was really excited to take the court again with my teammates. We worked really hard in the off season, so we were all excited to just get back on the court. I think the first game went really good, but especially the state tournament, it showed us what we need to improve on.
So, Emma, listen, last year, I believe your sister Maggie was on the team with you and your freshman season. Now this year, you're kind of out there on your own. What was that like when you first took the court against Holy Redeemer without her being there by your side?
It was definitely something to adjust to because not only was she one of our top scorers, she was also a big leader. So we all had to get adjusted and step up in our own different ways. But Coach Klingman really helped me be able to step up and take on that goal.
Absolutely. Let's kind of ask you a two-parter. Let's start with Maggie. What has she kind of meant to you when it comes to playing the game of basketball? What was it like growing up with her? What was that like, and what was kind of her influence on you?
She really helped to develop my competitive nature, because I remember we used to always 1v1 in the backyard. Usually it would end in fights most of the time. But it was she always used to help me. We used to work on what we both have to work on, and it was nice to be challenged by her each day.
Absolutely. And the kind of the second part is you touched on it a little bit, but now I imagine you're taking more of a leadership role this year. What has your role been kind of like leading up to the season, and what are the changes, and how are you enjoying that role?
It has been really fun so far. Definitely was hard to adjust, but Coach Klingman and Coach Ryman for Penn Fever, they helped me get into that role because they challenged me to just keep talking on and off the court and become that role model for the younger players to look up to.
So, Emma, you start the season against Holy Redeemer, which has a very rich championship tradition and an outstanding basketball team. What was that like for you to kind of start the season against a team of that caliber? And what did it kind of give you as an indication of where you could get to this year if you continue to work hard?
Yeah, Holy Redeemer is a really good team. They're really physical. So we knew we had to stay composed and just not get sped up to their game of play. So that showed us we really stayed composed at the end of the game and kept our lead, which shows me how our team we can do better things in the future because we're just gonna get better from that game.
Absolutely. And talking about obviously you lose to Norwin. But you ended up scoring 25 points in that game. What did your team kind of learn from a game like that?
Well, just to keep working. Like at one point we were up by 4, but then the game just got carried away. We were making like silly turnovers. So it kind of taught us to like just stay composed and not worry about the score and just keep like working and to like score. Yeah.
So, Emma, when you're in a tournament like that in the preseason, how does that help prepare you for what you know is going to be a very competitive season in Lackawanna Division I?
Lackawanna Division I is a very competitive league. So we knew that we wanted to see some competition out of the area, get different like skills and like know what we need to work on. So the games at the state college and even Holy Redeemer and all the preseason games, they're just kind of just to show us like what we have to get better at before we enter the league play.
Absolutely. And that kind of extends to obviously District 2 as a whole. I mean, you had to face Crestwood last year in the district playoffs, who I believe made the state semifinals, and they're back, with and strong again. They've had another strong start to the season. What did you kind of learn from last year, for not just individually, but as a team?
I learned like how much like capable as a team that we are. And in that game, even though we lost, each person like came up big for us. And that kind of showed me how like this year, like we lost Maggie, my sister, and another starter, Madeline Walsh. And I feel like everyone stepped up, like all the juniors and senior Lily Stolblick. Like we all stepped up into the roles. Like Lily plays really good defense. Everyone rebounds. Like each person does their job to help us succeed.
So, Emma, basketball at Abington Heights, both for the girls and the boys, they're both very, very well accomplished programs. What does it mean to you to be involved and learn and develop and be a part of this very successful basketball tradition at Abington Heights?
It's such a fun community to be involved with. We're all like together. We go to support each other's games. And it's kind of nice because I train with JC Shao, who's the boys coach. So I kind of get to see his perspective on the game in addition to Coach Klingman's, which is like cool because it's like from two sides of the like basketball game.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about that. Actually, when I was starting as kind of a younger journalist in college, I actually got to cover JC Shao in high school. Obviously, he was a great player. What do you kind of take away from him? That must be pretty cool, like you're saying, to be able to train with a guy like that.
Yeah, well, it's really cool because I know that he like played in college, so all of his skills that he teaches me like can correlate to my game, and he does stuff that like I find myself doing in my games. And he also, in addition to like the basketball skills that he goes over, he also like gives us like the motivation factor and the confidence. And like he tells us like to think the game, not just like to do the game, but he really like breaks it down for us.
Yeah, and Emma, for you, Coach Deanna Klingman, she was an outstanding collegiate basketball player as well. She brings a really fiery spirit to the sideline, doesn't she?
Oh yeah.
What are practices like for her?
They're really fun. They're full of energy. We're always like, no matter what we're doing, like whether we're doing like 11-minute or whatever, we're always yelling. We're always like cheering each other on. So she knows how to like push us, but like still in like a fun way.
Absolutely. Emma, I see that reading your Athlete of the Week interview you did with Scott. It says, you said favorite sports team, Notre Dame. Now, yeah, now that's my question. My question is it football? Is it all the sports? Is it women's basketball? What is your fandom when it comes to Notre Dame?
Everything.
Everything. Okay. All right. So I could ask, what did you think about Notre Dame being left out of the college football playoff?
That was crazy. My family was not too happy.
I believe it. Yeah, I'm sure me and Joby, like I said, we're going to talk about it later. A lot of locals aren't going to be happy about it, but it's just, I don't know. They just seemed to me they seemed like one of the best teams in the country. I know they had, a couple losses earlier in the season, but yeah, so it should be interesting. But let's talk a little bit about the women's basketball team. Obviously, very talented, Hannah Hidalgo. What do you think of the women's basketball team so far?
So far, they're looking good. I know they lost like a couple like key players, like Sonia Citron, Olivia Miles transferred, another big transfer. So they lost a lot of people, but Hannah Hidalgo keeps showing up for them in big ways.
You know your basketball, so Emma, I have to ask this question because it intrigues me every year as we go through the Lackawanna League in District 2, the great success and the popularity of girls basketball here in our area. Abington Heights has played a big part in that. How did you kind of get started in girls basketball, and how do you see yourselves now? I would put you right there on the level of boys basketball in terms of, the talent level where you and your, players you're competing against going on to play in college. I mean, the girls game is really huge now in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we are. I feel like each team in each area, like especially in the District 2, like Lackawanna League, like we all bring like different level of competition. It's all like tough.
And when did you start playing?
I've been growing up around basketball. Like my family played it. Everyone in my family played it. My sister played it. So I started off really young, just being surrounded by the game.
Absolutely. What kind of attached you to the sport? Can you pinpoint anything that like you really like about it that made you fall in love with it?
I think like the competitiveness of it. As much as I love to win, like I just hate to lose. So just like in just keeping like I kind of like fell in love with like getting better. Like at one point, like improving my weaknesses was just so like satisfying to me.
So Emma, let me ask you this, because basketball season and the winter sports season is so unique because you get started here in early December, right? And you're going to take a break over the holidays, but you're going to play some games during that time frame. But I often think that the athletes get distracted by the Thanksgiving holiday, and then you have Christmas holiday break, and you're away from school for a while, and you have all these distractions. How do you maintain your focus during this part of the season as the holidays are approaching?
Yeah, I think that's really hard, but just like still being around, like even the days that you don't have practice, just still like practicing outside, like by yourself if you can, and just like still staying or like watching scout, like still being around the game, whether you're watching it on TV or you're like doing it yourself.
Absolutely. Emma, you mentioned, you're always working to get better. This off season, did you work on anything specific? What did you kind of work on to improve on this off season?
I made sure I've definitely tried to improve my strength and my speed by I went to Athletic Republic to like work on my plyometrics, my agility, like to get better at defense and my like just sprinting speed. And my strength was a big factor in just gaining more weight so I could just like dominate.
You certainly have gotten off to a very good start. So I want to congratulate you for being named the Athlete of the Week. That's a tremendous effort here in the first 3 weeks against Joe. I know you mentioned it. Those are three very strong opponents to start your season, Emma.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And Emma, before I let you go, I'm a big WNBA fan. And one of the people you said Sonia Citron and you said Paige Beckers as kind of athletes you admire. What is it about their games that, you kind of try to emulate?
Just the way that they can score on all three levels. It's not just like they can shoot threes, but they can also take it to the basket or post up. And they even like work well on defense. Like they're not just like an offensive player, but they like play both sides of the ball and give their best effort all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Paige Beckers, I'm a Liberty fan and I can't stand facing her. She's so good. So anyway, yeah, that's all. I think that's all we have, Joby, right, for Emma?
Yeah, Joe, no surprise there that Emma mentions defense being a player for Coach Deanna Klingman. So
yeah,
that's a big part of her philosophy as well.
Absolutely. So, Emma, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the Athlete of the Week, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. Okay, that was Emma Coleman of Abington Heights basketball. Joby, it's a great start to the season, against some tough opponents, much like a few of the other schools did this weekend. We'll get to them, but it's honestly, Joby, I know this is very early. It's a very interesting week of basketball.
Joe, look, the last couple of seasons, as you know, because we've gone deep into March.
Yeah.
The basketball here in our area, certainly in the classification level type of basketball, has elevated itself. We've already spoken at length and gotten an incredible start to the season with Nico Antonacci from Riverside. Okay, he's averaging 44 points a game, for crying out loud.
Yep.
And, the girls basketball, just a few short years ago, Dunmore was a state champion. Okay, we had teams get to the state final. We've had teams get to the state semifinal. And I just think, we're playing a lot. These kids are playing a lot over there at Riverfront for Kevin Clark and his group there. And this talent level, the skill level is being developed at a very young age with these players, both boys and girls. And we're seeing a great deal of success carry over into the high school level. And I have a feeling, Joe, just based on the first week of the season, remember, we're only 6 or 7 days into this.
Yeah.
We could have another very exciting March Madness.
Without a doubt, and speaking of Nico Antonacci, he really fell off this week. Just
he just scored again, Joe.
2 40-point games last week, which, probably puts him at, I don't know, I'm bad at math, but he's averaging like
44 and change.
Yeah, sounds about right.
The team that he played against on Saturday, that Pencrest team,
yeah,
was a state quarterfinalist in Class 4A last year. Okay, this is a talented basketball team out of the Philadelphia area, and he just put on a show. There's a video up that Riverside Superintendent Paul Brennan posted of him dunking in the game, and I don't want to go as far as to say he was, I believe, one of the tournament MVPs. It was a showcase event for City of Basketball Love website that covers all the Philadelphia schools. And, he's an entertaining watch. Again, some of the older people at the gym that I work out at have kind of tapped me on the shoulder and, want to know if you have anything that you can compare him to. And I always want to be cautious in comparing him to Jerry McNamara just because we're still very early in his career. But we did this when Jerry was playing too. We used to compare him to Steve Asendaks and you have no choice but to do it because there's just those players that were ahead of him left such great legacies in basketball. And, maybe it's not too early to compare him to Jerry because he's really taken on that mantle and he's a tremendous player.
Exactly. He's a tremendous player. And like I said,
he fills it up, Joe.
He certainly does. He certainly does. We also, I think you'd agree. I know that Scranton Prep went, they won a game, lost a game this weekend, but against extremely talented teams, Cathedral Prep, Devon Prep, who is the reigning PIAA Class 4A champion. And that is the team that they beat behind some great performances from Chicky Scoff and Packy Doherty. I believe Packy had 31 points against Cathedral Prep and 14 against Devon Prep, and Chicky had 42 points across the 2 games.
2 21-point games for him. Now, Joe, Scranton Prep's got kids who can score too.
Right.
And Larry Reagan's got a team that likes to run the floor.
Yeah.
And they can get up and down. This is a very, very quick scoring team, and I think it's going to be a very exciting team. I think it's going to be a real interesting. They have some young players at Scranton Prep there that haven't yet got their sea legs of the varsity game yet. But I will say this. Now, you obviously, Joe, by mentioning this, read my notebook today.
Sure did.
About the Black League teams. Now, this has been a pattern. A lot of teams have done this in the past, these very competitive, whether they're early season tournaments or showcase events. In Riverside's case, Scranton played executive education on Sunday. These are the types of games these teams need to play early on because they're gonna log a lot of minutes and a lot of games in a very short period of time in what is going to be an extremely competitive Lackawanna League season. Okay, you remember back when you were playing, Joe, for Holy Cross, those games come fast and furious in the league.
Yeah, exactly.
You really need to kind of introduce yourself to playing against what is a very fast-paced game when you're getting ready for the postseason. Okay, and you may be doing it on weary legs. You don't know, but certainly Scranton Prep, by going out to Western Pennsylvania and playing against Cathedral Prep, which is an accomplished boys basketball team, and putting up 86 points, quite impressive there, and beating Devon Prep, which we know Devon Prep's reputation. Now, this is a Devon Prep team that's much different than the one that it had last year.
Sure.
Graduate, 3 all-state players. It's hard to play, but you're still playing the reputation and that type of level of basketball. They're well coached there at Devon Prep. So I'm impressed with what I've seen so far from the teams playing out of the area, including a lot of the girls' teams.
Right, exactly. And like you said, when it came to the Prep's ability to score, I should mention they scored 86 and 73 points in back-to-back games in those 2 games. So yeah, it's already heating up, Joby, and we're very early in the season.
Yeah, Joe, I'm not going to lie to you. I went to the Jerry Finan tournament final as I do every year. I've done it probably 25 out of the 27 years that I've been covering boys basketball. A couple of years there where I had conflicts that I wasn't able to get to it, but I enjoyed going to that tournament. And what I learned, Joe, at my advanced age, that I am not quite as sharp as I used to be in taking statistics for the fast-paced action of high school boys basketball now. So it's going to take me a little while to get the sleepies out of my eyes and get myself focused from what I've got to do at my job in these gymnasiums. But I was kind of thrown aback. I mean, even that game, and I'm not sure I'm ready for this, Joe.
Joby, it's always tough to get in the groove. Wait till I cover my first wrestling match, and I'm just like, because they, obviously basketball, as we had mentioned, last year when I was covering some playoff games, it's very hard to kind of, because you're taking video as well. So you're taking video and you're taking stats, and you'll find that groove, Joby. I know it, but
I don't know.
It takes some time. It takes a little bit of time.
It's not like riding a bike, my friend.
No, no, it's not. You're absolutely right.
You have a great title for this podcast, the Full Moon Podcast, and I often give you movie references that you're quite familiar with. But Tom Cruise, in playing the role of Jack Reacher, had a great line when he was talking to the gunnery sergeant who was helping him out in trying to track down the villains in the first Jack Reacher movie.
Right.
He was kind of staring off into the abyss with one eye closed, and he was a sharpshooter at the time, of course.
Yep.
His military time, and Tom Cruise asked him why he was doing that, and he was telling him that he was trying to save his night vision. And Tom Cruise mentions to him that, that is a perishable skill. Well, my statistics keeping is a perishable skill, Joe.
That's fair.
One with diminishing returns at this point.
That's fair. Oh man.
So forgive me if I'm off a little bit on some of my numbers, but we'll do the best we can to retell the story in print and media and social media. Okay.
Exactly, and I'm sure people will tell you if you're wrong, Joby. So
yeah, I've been told that many times. I'm used to it at this point.
Absolutely. So Joby, I obviously personally, I think, people love top tens. They love lists. It's early in the season, and I think it's difficult to kind of, obviously gauge all these games, non-league games, but we continue to put out the top tens, which is smart. It's, it's the business that we're in.
Admirable.
Yep. So we had a little bit, obviously a shake-up, but Riverside takes the top spot in the boys' top 10 poll, followed by Abington Heights. Dunmore, Valley View jumps up to 4 after a upset victory over number 1 Holy Cross, my Crusaders. Scranton Prep is at 5, Delaware Valley at 6. Holy Cross falls to 7. Old Forge is at 8. Elk Lake at 9. And Lackawanna Trail at 10. Let's start, if you don't mind, with, I believe this happened last year too, but Valley View beats Holy Cross. That is a great early season win for Valley View, a Valley View team who graduated some people from last year. So that's a nice win for Valley View.
Okay, Joe, so kick a guy while he's down. Now, I knew that by rolling the dice with North Pocono in football as my preseason number 1, the only one in the area who did that, by the way.
Right.
And North Pocono proved, did its best to show that I know something about high school football by holding that spot for the entire 10-week regular season in the Times-Tribune high school football poll. So there was no way I was going to be able to pull that off again in basketball, and I knew that. But that being said, so Valley View, right?
Yep.
Coach Mike Kerpus, last year's coach of the year, and rightfully so. He took his team to the PIAA Class 4A semifinals in a 23-win season. And so every year we collect these preseason information sheets from the coaches, right? And, Mike fills his out, and returning starters, none in big capital letters. and it was an accurate assessment. He graduated 5 starters, 5 kids who really were 2 and 3 year starters. Okay. And they helped develop that program to a championship level and had a great experience last year, won the District 2 Class 4A championship first time since 1997. And 2 great things at Valley View. And what I failed to calculate in that, Joe, which I sometimes do, okay, is the kids who were coming off the bench last year who were valuable players for Valley View during that run. Okay, Noah Zamoyski, Jagger Rowe.
Yep.
And early on, I was curious to see how this team was going to start the season with Holy Cross early, obviously. And Mike Kerpus does a great job. They're always going to defend, and they're going to be a disciplined basketball team. They're going to be talented athletically, and they rose to the challenge and pulled off another victory over Holy Cross. I believe it's 4 in a row now. Now, Joe, for our listeners out there who aren't overly familiar with the Holy Cross Valley View rivalry, Coach Al Calais and Coach Mike Kerpus are best friends. Okay. Outside of basketball, we did the story on them last year.
Yep.
And Mike Kerpus wanted to remind me that it's 4 in a row wins for Valley View over Holy Cross. So a little bit of a rivalry there, but no, I fully expect Holy Cross to bounce back from this. C.J. Thompson's out with an injury.
Yep.
Maybe he'll be back before Christmas. I don't know that for sure. That certainly played a little bit of a role, but you have to give credit to Valley View to play at that level. And I know Coach Mike Kerpus was happy about the way his team played, but he also knows it's an uphill battle for him. This is a young team, an inexperienced team, but an extremely talented team.
Absolutely. So,
and Joe, if I may just quickly, team to really watch among those 10 that you mentioned, okay, is Dunmore.
Yeah.
Early on in the preseason, we had Riverside number 2, we had Holy Cross number 1, Riverside number 2, Old Forge number 3. Now, Old Forge lost to Wilkes-Barre area in the Wilkes-Barre preseason tournament. Riverside's unbeaten, now the number 1 team. We have Holy Cross losing to Valley View. And kind of getting lost in the shuffle there of those top 3 teams is Dunmore. And Dunmore, if you look at the statistics so far early in the season, I think they're averaging 70 points a game. That's going to be a very good team with a lot of firepower.
I was going to say that's pretty good. And I should mention some other great performances in basketball this week. Jordan Schaefer of Abington Heights, he had 22 points in a 79-47 win over Wyoming Valley West, 25 points in a 74-55 win over Shamokin to start season 2-0. Logan Siegel of Lackawanna Trail had 16 points, including 4 in overtime in a 54-51 win over Western Wayne in the Cal King Tournament semifinals, and had 13 points in a 43-33 win over Nanticoke in the Cal King final. He earned the MVP of that tournament. So yeah, Joby, we're in the early goings, but still some exciting stuff already happening, and there'll be plenty more moving forward, including Joby.
We have a lot of action this week, Joe. This is
the Holy War.
Yeah, the Holy War is Wednesday. I know you're going to have a tailgate outside of the Dunmore High School.
Of course.
Holy Cross High School in Dunmore, excuse me. But I fully expect you and your alumni to be together, Corey Joyce and the boys. And,
that's right.
Making sure you guys are having hot dogs and hamburgers outside and with your Holy Cross jerseys on. So that's going to be a good one, Joe.
Joby, a quick story. Obviously when we first all merged, the Holy Redeemer as well, all at the same time. Holy Cross, my senior year, scrimmaged Holy Redeemer, and I don't know if we just couldn't find anybody else or whatever. I swear we drove to that school probably it felt like 7 times. It was probably only like 4 or 3, but we just kept scrimmaging them over and over again. And obviously you played sports, what happens when you just keep playing the same team over and over again. It was almost a fight at the end of the last scrimmage. And I think I remember Al Calais being I was on the bench at the time, and I think he was just we got to stop playing these guys for right now. It was so many games in a row. It was just so funny. That popped in my head just now.
Joe, that's going to be close quarters at Holy Cross too, by the way. It's an interesting environment to say the least. And you have Holy Cross bouncing back, trying to bounce back, and Holy Redeemer's an extremely talented team as well. And it is a rivalry. This is these kids. You went through this Catholic system, right? The diocesan tournaments in 7th and 8th grade. I believe you scored 1,400 points. So these kids are rivals really from when they're in the youth league, right? So it really carries over. It really does.
Absolutely carries over. So that's
Wednesday, I believe.
That is Wednesday, exactly.
You're off that day. I saw a personal day on the schedule.
A personal day, yeah, that's right. Well, like you said, I'll be holding a tailgate starting at 5 p.m. and we'll get ready. I'll bring the grill. Yeah, very very exciting stuff. Now watch, some people will actually show up and waiting for me.
Looking for that tailgate.
Exactly.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah, don't lie. But yeah, there's that matchup, and like we talked about, Valley View and Old Forge, another nice little matchup there, and that's on Friday.
You played basketball, so I have to ask you this, because this is always something that gets raised, because it's such a different situation in basketball as opposed to football. When they start playing real games in football, they all count, right?
Right.
And now in District 2 power ratings, all these games do count, but I think your approach has to be a little bit different in the preseason. You tell me. I don't know. I mean, you're a competitor. You always want to win, but you're always working on something. These non-league games, they take on a different kind of feel, I think, this year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's still, it's interesting you say that, and I don't know if this will answer your question, but it does kind of still eat at me that we could just never beat Abington to start the season. And they were such close games that came down to 3 points. We'd take a few shots at the 3 and just didn't fall. But you're absolutely right, and it's really What it really is that I don't think teams should be, obviously, players, they want to win, coaches, they want to win. I don't think people should be discouraged by any sort of early season loss, especially, you bring up the Holy Cross example, losing to Valley View, and, these teams going to, like we just talked to Emma Coleman, losing to a team like Norwin, Scranton Prep, losing to Cathedral Prep. It's really, it's, as a player, it's disheartening to lose these games, and it shouldn't be. It's early season. It's the first time you're really stepping on the court in a game situation. But if you're asking me as how it felt as a player, yeah, absolutely. It was game time, and you absolutely wanted to win these games, and it was very, very crushing to lose. My example is, we just always start with Abington Heights. They were just so talented, and it was just, they were tough to beat, and we just could never do it. And I think the first time we ended up doing it was the first year I left. So it was,
oh, nice.
Yeah, right. So it's, these are big time games. They're a lot of fun. The atmosphere is like, really, like, it's like playoff level, even though it's just the first game, because, you're matching up with these great teams. So yeah, it's important, and, the players.
So there you go, Joe. You answered two questions there. That's why it's important for us to do the top 10 ranking.
That's fair. That's good. Well done, Joby. Well done. So to get to some other, let's get to some. So Chloe Mamera of Scranton Prep basketball, she had 16 points in a 59-30 win over Wyoming Valley West, and she had 28 points, including all 17 of Prep's points in the third quarter, and a 51-24 win over Bethlehem Liberty. Scranton Prep moves to 2-0 on the season.
Those are two good wins, Joe.
Those are two very good wins. Look at, obviously we know that, Chloe Mamera is going to have a big season this year, and she proved it. She's already proving it early in the season. Great offensive outputs, but she's great on, she's great defensively. She's great on the boards. She's an all around great player. And that's obviously what Prep is going to need, considering who they graduated. So great early performance from her. Scranton Prep is number one in the girls poll, with Dunmore at 2, North Pocono at 3, Abington at 4, Mountain View at 5. I believe Addison Kilmer had a 34-point game as one of her games this week. Valley View is at 6, Wallenpaupack at 7, Scranton at 8, Honesdale 9, and Elk Lake at 10. So those are the polls right now, and we got a long season, my friends.
Yeah, basketball is a marathon.
Yeah.
I mean, the longest. No, this is the longest of our sports seasons. I know you'll get basketball coaches who will tell you that it's not, but it is. I mean, it's the longest part of the calendar that we have, and it's a grind for these teams and these players. But Joe, we kind of got going really quickly here. It was a quick turnaround for us. The state football championships were just held this weekend,
right?
And we're a week into basketball already. So
exactly.
And I will tell you, Joe, we're going to be coming up on the holidays, and the holiday tournaments. We talk about the intensity level of non-league games, or games that don't really count toward your championships. Mm-hmm. Holiday tournaments do matter. I mean,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You've been involved in them, and they span decades. The tradition of playing in those tournaments, and one of the great things about basketball as opposed to football is that you have these types of events, let's say early in the season, or you go into a tournament in mid-season or whatever, a showcase. You have something to play for championship-wise. And I dial back to the Jerry Finan tournament a couple of days ago. Those kids, it's early in the season. Yes, it's only the third game of the year for them, but they got trophies and they got a banner and they were able to put something in their trophy case. And that's the unique thing about basketball. I am looking forward to what should be a very, very exciting and competitive holiday tournament season coming up.
Absolutely. And speaking of holiday tournaments, I remember my senior year losing to Prep by 3 in the finals. I'm just realizing now, Joby, teams have a history of losing to really good teams by 3. So, but what can you do? What can you do?
Joe, you had a stellar and accomplished career. Give me
Hey, I appreciate that, Joby. I appreciate it. So, Joby, we just talked a lot about basketball. I've got to talk about wrestling. We're obviously
already.
Yeah, we're obviously in the early season of wrestling as well, where teams head to tournaments over the weekend, and we had obviously a strong weekend led by the Schumann brothers, Nathan and Dominic. Nathan, a sophomore who had a phenomenal freshman season, a regional champ already and a state qualifier. His brother Dominic, a freshman, comes in, captures a title at the Darren Klingerman Invitational. They both did. And Honesdale ran away with the team title. Abington Heights finished second, led by obviously Mason Whitney, two-time state medalist. He captured the 139 title, ran away with it. But this kind of shows, where Honesdale is at. I mean, this is a team that, they had a big year last year. They obviously lost some very good wrestlers, but they're able to reload, and that starts with Dominic Schumann, who's already state ranked as a freshman. He's number 16. I believe Nathan at the 114 weight class, I believe he's 5 or 6 in the state. I mean, as he should be. He was a monster last year. So it's going to be interesting to watch this Honesdale team, who returns Duke Martin, who finished second in that tournament. There's the Justin and Connor Scanlon coming back, Levi Landry coming back. So there's some really, really good wrestlers on that team. And, obviously still expect big things from Honesdale, but also Abington Heights. You obviously have mentioned Mason Whitney, and he's fantastic. He'll be their leader, but they do have a solid group of freshmen coming up who did very well at the Darren Klingerman Invitational. So Abington will be obviously an interesting team to look at, as they are every season, but in the Division I that actually looks, I don't know if I'd say wide open, but you've got Abington Heights, Wallenpaupack, the defending champion, West Scranton, Delaware Valley, always a strong Division I. So I'll be excited to see what happens in that division. Obviously, Matthew Almedina had an excellent high school career, kicked off his senior season, placing second at the Tom Best Memorial Top Hat Tournament. I know that's one of your favorites, Joby. But he finished second there. That's an excellent tournament. It's at Williamsport. So, and we also had the Battle on the Delaware at Delaware Valley High School. Delaware Valley had Zion Cologne, Andrew Elliott, and Jeremiah Siegel captured titles there. Gavin Morecambe of Western Wayne won a title as well. And we also have on the girls' end, they also were at Battle on the Delaware. Western Wayne had 3 champions, Reagan Wargo, Trinity Leonard, and Mia Gifford, who returns for another year after a few very good, very successful high school seasons. And we obviously return Sage Over, who has been Sage Over from Honesdale, who has honestly been as far as the PIAA era of girls wrestling has been one of the best out of the Lackawanna League, if not the best so far. She's back for her senior season, and she earned Most Outstanding Wrestler at Battle on the Delaware. And Madison Miller, only a sophomore, had a great year last year. She state medalist last year. She captured a title, so be excited to see what that Honesdale duo brings this season. So yeah, we're getting started. We're moving closer to some league matches that will be next week, starting December 17th, and it should be an exciting season. But yeah, teams and wrestlers are getting some experience early on, just like we mentioned with basketball. So, and kind of giving us a little bit of a glimpse of what's to come.
Joe, just based on that quick report, you're going to be extremely busy in this winter.
Oh, you know it. You know it. So, and yeah, I'll have some previews coming out, the girls and boys seasons. Also be, getting together as we get together our all region teams to wrap up the fall season. I hope to get the soccer all region teams in the paper before the start of the 2026 soccer season.
Joe, again, there's only 24 hours in a day.
Right, Joby? Exactly. So, and I know you're working hard on all your football stuff. So we'll get there. Bear with us.
We're burning the midnight oil as we speak, and we're finding out in this new age, that time moving much too quickly for us.
You're not kidding, Joby. And I'm talking to,
And you're 25 years younger than me, Joe.
I know. And a little behind the scenes, I just, found out today part of the process is, we have to send, the all region team information, the photos, through something called Saxo to get it to the hub, the people who actually design the pages. We have nothing to do with that. And I talked to our good friend Jared today, who says, like, oh yeah, hopefully I could get to this week. There's 3 people on vacation. So it's all over, Joby. It's
Thanks for ruining my evening.
Sorry. But we're getting a head start on your stuff, so that's a plus.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So Joby, if it's okay with you, I'd like to talk a little bit. I am by no means a college football expert at all.
Well, that explains you being a Michigan fan, but go ahead.
Exactly. And, my team did not make the college football playoff, and rightfully so. But, I'll start by kind of giving my thoughts, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, the right way to think of it. The thing that I kind of find a little strange, it's obviously centers around the Notre Dame of it all. And
Joe, I believe that they were playing taps at the Notre Dame club.
Exactly. It's part of the process. And Joby, let's start off. We're getting 16 teams next year, right?
We may be getting 32 teams.
That's true. I mean, when does it end, honestly?
Well, it's going to end at 32 only because of the calendar. But
right,
when now that the teams are not playing in bowl games,
right?
So we can scratch the bowl schedule. Next year,
right.
And those sponsors will be moved to playoff games, and the money will continue to flow in. Now, that being said, Joe, this is the new face of college football, okay?
Yeah.
You have to remember, these schools are no longer just granting scholarships to players. You have to pay these kids.
Right.
So they've got to generate money. So why do you think Notre Dame is so upset?
Right.
That it's not playing in the college football playoff?
Right.
Okay, that's a very, big revenue generating part of their season.
Right.
And even though they're not supposed to, much like Clark Griswold, waiting for that Christmas bonus and putting a deposit down that he didn't have the money for, these schools look forward to that.
Yes.
That payment.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, naturally they're disappointed.
Well, you've got to, obviously those 2 losses at the beginning of the year and 1 to Miami. I mean, that's your difference there. Number one, I find it interesting that it was explained on the show. I watched the show, but I still don't agree with it. How Notre Dame is ranked ahead of Miami on Tuesday. And then with neither team playing, Miami jumps Notre Dame. Now, they said that they didn't compare the head-to-head until the final day.
And that was because, Joe, so in the rankings, BYU was between Notre Dame and Miami, and then the committee, which said that it did not judge the conference championship games, dropped BYU. So clearly the committee did evaluate the conference championship games. Now, it ignored it for Alabama.
For Alabama, it was ignored. Exactly. They didn't.
But again, Joe, these are all things that I prepared you and other college football people for.
Right.
Alabama got left out last year. That was not going to happen again.
Right.
Okay. That's number one. Number two, Notre Dame, if you remember, and I know Notre Dame fans have very short memories, Notre Dame got into the college football playoff last year as an at-large bid with a loss to Northern Illinois on its slate.
That's true.
So listen, every year, no matter how far this expansion goes, I think 32 is the number only because of the weeks in the calendar.
Right.
The team, if you go to 16, team 17 is going to be left out.
Absolutely.
Be angry.
Absolutely, Joe.
If you go to 24, team 25 is going to be angry.
Right.
And there's going to be an argument that you can make for those teams. Now, when we go to these super conferences, which we will, which college football will move forward, you will have an NFL style, you'll have 12-team conferences only, and you'll have pods, okay?
Right.
And you'll qualify for the playoffs through those pods. That will balance the schedules.
Sure.
Sure. And I will tell you this, Joe. Now, congratulations to former Lakeland tight end Lakota Dupree.
Absolutely.
He and his teammates at James Madison winning the Sun Belt Championship and got a berth in the college football playoff. Again, I've watched James Madison a couple of times this year. I'm not sure that team would argue, or certainly that team would argue, and their fan base would argue, that they belong in the college football playoff. Do I think that they belong in the college football playoff ahead of, let's say, Notre Dame? You could argue that. It's not about brand, it's about the season. But I don't blame James Madison. James Madison didn't put itself in the playoffs.
No.
James Madison won its conference championship, and Duke, with 5 losses, won the ACC championship, Joe.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
What do you want?
My Blue Devils.
Right. So, but what do you want? What do you want to have happen here? You have. I know it seems completely far-fetched when you listen to it 2 years ago when this format was released. Okay, you want to make sure the Power 4 conferences are represented fairly, and you also want the group of 5, right, represented with their conference champions. If they're ranked high enough, well, I mean, you put that language in there just to say, oh, well, James Madison isn't ranked high enough. Nice season, Well, now they're ranked high enough.
Right.
Those circumstances can come to fruition.
Right. And here's my issue, and it doesn't lie with the teams that got in. My issue is with the process, and that is so much. I'm not going to dig into the whole thing right now, but how is Miami not playing for the ACC title?
Well, that's the ACC's problem.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Joby. It's the whole process. How is Miami not? How does Alabama not get punished for getting killed in that game? I know it was only 28-7, but they got dominated, Joby. They got dominated.
How can we not criticize a process that not only, blatantly spat in the face of people who watch college football,
Right.
But then created a system that resulted with rematches. Well, we don't want that.
Right.
How does that solve anything?
Right.
Alabama and Oklahoma's played already once this year.
Right.
We need to see that again?
Right.
Now, granted, maybe Alabama can win the rematch, but that's not how this is supposed to be set up, Joe.
Right. Right. Exactly. So that is where my issue lies. My issue lies with the process and what and how we got there. Math. Do the work, and the math is just flawed.
Joe,
I don't think this will ever be a perfect system.
There are no perfect systems, Joe. Watch the NFL playoffs. We're going to have some really bad teams in the playoffs. Okay?
Right.
We're gonna have some really good teams left out.
Exactly.
But Joe, that's the idea behind playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And this whole notion in college football that we should ignore the actual results of games. We should just say, well, they're Alabama.
Right.
Or they're Georgia. Or they're Oklahoma. They get it.
Right. Exactly.
Joe, I have a theory, or I have a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
They take score for a reason.
Absolutely, Joby. And listen, and there it is. And there it is. Exactly. It's just like, why did it matter for one team and not matter for another team? Why did it, it's just like up and down. I don't want to take anything away from any team who got in. For me, it's not about that. Obviously the eye test, it's like, well, yeah, Notre Dame belongs. I realize that's not how it works, but Notre Dame's a team based on how they played the last, 10 games of their season. They look like they could contend for a national title, and they're sitting at home. So that, for which reason, it's flawed, and it's not just Notre Dame. It's the whole thing. So, obviously, congratulations to the teams that got in. It's still going to be fun, Joby. I'm still going to enjoy the hell out of it.
Well, we're still going to watch, Joe. I'm a college football fan for now.
We're probably always going to watch.
Well, that's what they're counting on, Joe. They've gotten at least 48 hours worth of people talking about it.
That's true. But now they don't have Notre Dame in any bowl game, which is not great for college football. But listen, there's going to be changes. And it's just a matter of what they are. But Joby, you may have a decent solution.
What's that? I don't have a solution.
32 teams. Let's go.
It's going to be 32.
Let's go.
Joe, it's going to be 32.
Exactly. Obviously, Joby, I wish we had, more time to cover all kinds of sports, but we have reached our hour. But hey, big win by the Packers. And your Rams, big bounce back win against the Cards. So, we're looking okay.
We're still fighting for playoff spots, Joe.
I know. It's funny, Joe, because we could go from the number one seed to out of the playoffs in a matter of whatever.
The NFC's tight, Joe. The NFC's going to be tight.
Exactly. So it should be interesting. We've got some interesting games coming, and good luck to everyone in their fantasy leagues. This is the last day before playoffs, so hopefully you get into that playoffs and live to die another day. I know I'm hoping to. So, but Joby, I think you made the right move by getting out of it.
That's right, Joe.
It's a little much, but anyway. Well, Joby, this was a jam-packed episode, so it was
I always enjoy chatting with you, Joe. It's always a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Same to you, brother. We got another big week, obviously. Follow along the Times-Tribune.com/sports. Follow us X @SportsTT. Follow Joby's Facebook page, Joby Fawcett, the Times-Tribune. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Times-Tribune Sports. And, pick up a paper if you still do that kind of thing. But we got a lot going on. The 24/7 news cycle, Joby, never stops, and we'll be here for it. So thank you to Emma Coleman for joining us at the top of the show. And Joby, until next week, I know we'll be talking to each other in between, but we'll talk to each other here.